Hey, welcome back to the table, everyone. Today we're going to play a scenario from MBT, second edition by GMT Games. Now the map layout is 3 maps, and I'd have to pull the camera like super far up out of reach in order to kind of get it all in one shot, and then everything will be really small and hard to see. So what we're going to do instead is kind of move the camera to the action. So forgive the wiggliness, but for example, over here we have, well, first of all, let me show you the scenario. So let me bring the camera over here because this will be important-ish. So here we are, straight out of the playbook. We're going to go to scenario 1, past the TO and E. And this is about as basic as you're going to get with MBT. So we've got 3 map sections, map section 4, 2, and 7. They're going to enter at opposite sides of the map board, so 2 sides enter, 1 side leaves kind of a thing. The idea is they're going to fight over some bridges. There's bridges here on the map, and I'll show you those in just a moment. There's set up forces roll die 10. The force rolling the lower result ties must set up first. You re-roll ties anywhere along the map edge, 3 hexes of the map edge. So what I've done, since it's solo, it didn't matter to me who set up first. So I've got tanks on the board, and I'll show you where those are located and what they look like. And then it's got 15 turns. This might not go 15 turns, but they give this to you because, 15 turns. But it talks about 300 victory points to the force that controls each of the 2 bridges, which I'll show you those in a second. To control a bridge hex, a force must occupy or be the last to occupy it for a full turn. If neither side meets the requirement, the VPs are not allowed, and then so on once you get down to the end. Now also, if you destroy all of your opponents, that would be victory too. You're going to get victory points for a knockout or a brew up. Not for damage, you got to knock them out. Now, what are the antagonists, if you will? The scenario has it set for, let's see, 1, 3, 6, 9, 13, 15 M60s, and then 12, 13 T72s. Well, that's good and all, but I really like Abrams tanks. So what I've done is let's see if they've noticed, but I have switched out their M60s for Abrams and the T72s for T80s. Yeah, I had a Folgers moment. Let's see if they notice that we swapped out their tanks. Now, to do that, it's 10 T80s, and then mathematically wise, it's like 8 3/4 of a Abrams, so I put 9 Abrams. Alright, so it's shrunk down a little bit, the forces involved, but I just, honestly, I could have just left it at M60s and we could have just played, but I like Abrams tanks and then thought I'd beef it up. Mostly because some other games that do modern day type of stuff, Abrams is like the baseline. This is maybe 1 or 2 years behind and gives you a chance to go back in time a little bit to get some of the older stuff, but I really, really, really wanted to play with Abrams. Alright, there it is. So that's it. They set up on both sides of the map and they go to the middle. Speaking of the middle, here's a bridge. There's bridge number 1, and then bridge number 2 is right there. So to give you an idea of where everything is, I'm going to unplug the power for just a second, otherwise it stretches all over the place. And we will lift the camera up. So as you can see, I got to go lift this thing way up here to show everything, and then we'll bring it back down for the action. So here on, if this is north, so on the west side you've got a stack of Abrams. Now you could put them all in individual, but you can put up to 6 without overstacking. So this stack, in my mind, I was thinking I'll do 4 tanks, that's a platoon, plus there's the 1 left over, which could be a command. With MBT and kind of the Panzer series and the basic rules, there's really no need to worry about. Okay, I did have it here. It's just everything doesn't look good when it's all in little baggies and you have it in a big bag, so I just had to find the right bag in the big bag. So with this game, what you're going to do is issue orders, and you have like 5 orders. There's a move order, fire, no command, there's a short halt, and then, where's the other one? Overwatch. So what you're going to do is for each tank in the basic game, each individual tank, unless you have them stacked. That's why I stacked them. I could just figure give one tank an order. If I need to split them off later, then I could give each stack its own order. But the way this game works is you give orders before you roll for initiative. So the rules say that's kind of giving you a little bit of a fog of war kind of aspect. You don't quite know what your opponent's going to do, and then you got to roll to see who gets to execute their pre-programmed actions first. That's why the first thing you do is spotting, because if you can't see anything, you can't issue a fire order. And so that's the thing is, to be legal, you can't put a fire order on somebody in anticipation that they'll move into range. That way when you activate that unit, you go, oh look, they've got a fire order. That would be what Overwatch is for. Overwatch you could put on someone. It's like opportunity fire. You're just saying, okay, if somebody moves into their range as a reaction, they're going to initiate fire. I would say for this first bit of a turn or two, we're going to assign, and I'm going to tell you what we're doing. Don't tell the other player. We're going to assign this stack here a move command. So we put those commands face down. That way the opponent doesn't know what you're doing. And so we're going to, there we go. There's going to be a lot of camera moving. So I'm going to try not to make anybody motion sick today. We're going to put a move command on them. Then if we come over here to the Soviet side, they're going to get a move. And I'm going to come up here. They're going to get a move. And then finally, up in this corner, they get a move. And you're going to put them face down. And it's good to keep them face down because that's part of the bluff. Your opponent wouldn't know what you're doing. Plus, as they get revealed, then you'll know which units still have to act and which ones have acted. So we've done the command. Then we're going to check for initiative. Now, in the base game, I just do a basic die 10. Well, I guess it's like a percentile roll. But the thing is, in the base game, there's no real modifiers to this, and usually you just re-roll ties. But as you get into like the advanced rules, there's force multipliers, there's different things that will modify that percentage roll. So we're going to do a percentage roll here. Usually when I play solo like this, I'll just do a die 10 because again there's no modifiers or anything like that. So I'll probably just do that here for simplicity. So I'll say blue for NATO. Well, you know what? I wonder if I've got a red die 10. Yeah, I do. And we'll go, oh, I grabbed it wrong. Alright, bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to go blue for NATO, red for Warsaw Pact. Let's grab the dice roller here. It's a tie, so I'd re-roll that. Okay, so Warsaw Pact is going to go first. Alright, so now that we have initiative, we just look here at the turn sequence. There'd be first air phase, but we don't have air. Then there's combat phase. So first is indirect fire combat step. Okay, so once we are into these phases and say Warsaw goes first, they would do all of their fire first. And the way you do that is you would have to reveal the unit that's been issued a fire command and say, okay, hey, this unit's firing. And then they would do the firing step. None of these folks have a fire command issued to them. So we're going to skip combat phase. But there's a movement phase. Now, also in the basic, there wasn't any rules for close assault or hand-to-hand. But they do have movement, and there's no overrun. So we're just going to do the basics of movement. So again, we're going to do all of our movement, and this is what I think is different from Panzer. I believe in Panzer, the fire ring still came first, but you fired all of your side, then the opponent would fire all of their side, and then moving was staggered, like back and forth movement. And this one, MBT, the movement is all done at the same time. Now there's optional rules for staggered firing. So like I said, that's probably the only difference that immediately comes to mind between MBT and Panzer, for those who are curious. So we're going to go ahead and just start at the south here and move. Movement is just what you would expect. Now to keep it simple, we're not going to go up on the hills or anything like that. We're just going to drive around and make our way towards the bridges. Yeah, I might even want a third bridge, which I forgot to even check to see that there's a third bridge. But we're going to go and try to funnel these folks to the 2 bridges in the middle of the map. I'm pointing at stuff that you can, oh there, you can see that one, you can't see the one up here. Here we go. We have 8T for track. So we're going to go 1, 2, and after you move forward you get like a free turn, or you can pivot. I'm trying to remember, I think there was rules for pivoting. Of course I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think you can pivot in place, and like one movement point lets you do as many pivots as you want or something like that. I think there's even like a pivot limit on the data card for the vehicles, because some might pivot faster than others. But just moving forward to get a free pivot. Where was I? So it was 1, 2, 3. We got to go up here. We want that bridge. That's a freebie. Oh, we're going to stay on the road. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, and then pivot. Even though I'm on a road, you don't get to use the improved movement bonus, which is 16 in this case, unless all your movement is along the road. But since I started off-road, it's only the 8T, 8 for track. So that's what I get to do. That's the cross-country move. Now that unit has done its thing, so I'm going to put a move on them. They're done moving. And then carefully move the camera. Alright, let's see. They were actually going to come in through the middle, and they're facing the hex side. So this isn't like some games where the vehicle faces one direction, doesn't, you know, there's no facing. This has facing, which you get in most squad level games. So we're going to go for the whole stack here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are charging hard for the middle. If I had on Overwatch, I've got some Abrams over here. If they were on Overwatch, they fired or anything like that, and it's just sitting in some woods. You have to get pretty close to see it, because you know it's hidden. But once you start firing and moving, you can see things from pretty far away. So right now I'm pretty sure everybody is in range to see someone else, and everybody's out in the open. This tank unit over here, they're probably in woods because the road does not provide an opening that this group of Abrams can see. But otherwise, everybody else has a pretty good line of sight to see somebody else. So actually using all these move fire markers aren't necessary. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Is the rules say that if it's pretty obvious, then you won't have to mark them with move. So it's pretty obvious because we just rushed up here. They would have been marked with a move. Now, these markers you'll see, some of them have a move and a fire on them. And so these markers, there's quite a few in here that have 2 pieces of information. Normally you're going to face it to where the status that the vehicle is in is facing the front of the vehicle, and that's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to face it so the action they did would be facing north. So technically all of these folks could be marked with a move. I probably, like I said, might not actually need that because I know they did move. Now when they fire, they get marked with a fire, because again that could modify from how far away they are spotted. And if somebody was close enough to see it and they survived, then yeah, everybody would know that that tank unit fired, and then they can be spotted easier. And then if they spend like one turn of not moving and nobody spots them again, they go back invisible. All right, so let's give some orders. I'm thinking most of these orders are now going to be fire orders because we see stuff. So for example, this Abrams unit on the bridge is going to get a fire order. This set of T-80s in the open, they're going to get fire orders. And then, shouldn't say finally because I got a couple other units here. Here we go, Vertigo kicks in. This unit down here, they technically could probably see past the rubble and this rough. You know what, I might have misidentified that terrain. Oh, brush. What I thought was rough is actually brush. There's some scrub. Rough. This here is all rough. This is scrub. It pays to look at your chart when trying to make decisions on what to do. We don't want to drive through the rough because that could get us bogged down and it takes a tremendous amount of our movement. But if we stick to the road that we're on, I'm going to give them a move. Boop. Oh yeah, they can't see past the trees here to get at the tanks on the bridge, so they're going to have to move. Alright, and then if we go up north, where you at, baby? There you go. We got Soviets and an American crew right there. And they're going to... I bet you those buildings and that trees, that line of sight is blocked. So guess what? You get a move. And they technically, oh no, because of the trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on a short halt. That is the order you use for moving. So you would fire. So that, nope, we aren't going to do a short halt. We're going to give them a move. And the reason why is I want to plop them on the bridge. So if they get initiative, they're going to go on the bridge. So there's going to be a race to get to this bridge right there. So that's either going to go very well for the Americans or not, or vice versa for the Soviets. Okay, so all of those orders have been placed. Let me just clear some clutter. All right, so we didn't check. Yeah, we did check for spotting, so we can do some firing. Then we did command, and now we're going to roll for initiative. Same thing, blue NATO, red Warsaw Pact. This time NATO gets the initiative, and that's what they were hoping for. So first things first is we got to find out which unit had fire. Now, that's maybe the only drawback to having everything run in a stack is I've got a whole bunch of tanks. I could have put some on Overwatch. I could have put some on move. So I realized, and I'm talking specifically about this group here, I could have given some of them different orders, but because I'm kind of keeping them as a platoon, I'm just giving that one stack, one set of orders. But I definitely could have given two of them a move to try and catch the bridge, and then I could have given the others like Overwatch in case the Soviets decided to come around the town. So different things. But first is firing. So I have here a stack of Abrams, and they're going to shoot here. Now, when you shoot, one of the things you have to do is declare exactly... Wait, can you even see what I was pointing at? Oh, camera, come with me. I need a camera operator. If any of you live in the Clarksville, Tennessee area and would like to be a camera operator for counterproductive games at no pay, let me know, and I will hook you up with a camera job. Now, you're going to have to assign all the firing before you start rolling any dice, which means if I have, say, 2 tanks firing at 2 tanks, like maybe at 1 tank, if that tank blows up, then the other tank doesn't get a shot. You don't reassign tanks. So you got to premonice out what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is 1-to-1. So they see a bunch of T-80s crossing the field and they say, open fire! And they're going to shoot straight across at each other. I just got to remember what hex I had them in because now I forgot. They were in this hex. That's the base hex, base hex. So they don't actually spread out. I'm just laying them out so I can shoot across. So we're going to go on a one-to-one basis here. Fire command. Right, so first thing we're going to do, the basic rules, real easy. We would check for line of sight. There's a clear line of sight going from here to here, because scrub, or that's brush. Brush, it says, should have like no height. Yeah, 0 height, no cover, turn 1, a very slight chance of getting hull down. Yeah, so that's nothing. So we've got essentially clear line of sight to all of their tanks. Then we count range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to look at my Abrams combat chart here. 6, oh, is point blank. How convenient. Because in the basic game, you're only going to be using this in half. All of this is front. See, in the advanced game, you're going to come in at here. That would be an angle. That's the front. And the armor is typically stronger when you hit on an angle because there's chances of deflection. But if you're straight on or straight on the side, that's a flat, mostly a flat angle you're hitting at. So you get better armor with the advanced rules and then maneuvering your vehicles. But as it stands, I'm looking at the wrong dude. I gotta look here. The armor on the, there it is, T-80 is a 90. Okay, so the Abrams penetration is 110 at point blank. So that's a penetration. Here is an interesting thing for the basic rules. I don't have this little chart memorized at the moment, but I need to have this bookmarked. When you penetrate, there is a little thing that says what happens damage-wise. Here it is. Basic game AP damage. If the penetration factor is equal to or greater than the armor factor by 1 to 3, the target suffers a damage hit. If it's greater than 4 through 9, it suffers a knockout. If it's greater by 10 or more, it suffers a brew up. Damage effects are also summarized on Combat Effects Summary on the back of the playbook. So we just did a brew up. So we look down here. We're going to see if... oh, good. I'll have this on this chart right there. That's nice. So I don't have to keep looking that up. But as you can see, AP combat is usually pretty much that easy. GP combat is referring to guns, high explosive anti-tank, the shrapnel type things. And then you get to worry about, like, is it small arms versus certain types of vehicles, open top, closed. It starts to get a little bit more complex when you add in the GP, machine guns, high explosive anti-tank rounds. But when it's just AP, boom, AP rounds, you hit, penetrate. Now it does say optional special +2 BU modifier with KO BU damage. Okay, yeah, we're not using the optional, so we're just simply going the basic game. Anyway, it's a brew up. Alright, so that means I get a brew up marker. That creates smoke. I don't see brew up there. Here we go. Here's the KOs. Alright, so what that means is, what that means is this vehicle is KO'd. And those other 3 that hit, those are also brewed up. I said KO, but I meant brewed up. Oh, goodness. So they're now brew up. So that hex is on fire. You only add 1 KO or brewed up for the stack. You don't put multiple brew up and wrecks in 1 hex. You just have 1, and that means, yep, there was an explosion there. Okay, so again, for you folks that remember rules better than me, I thought there was a rule that said if you were in a hex where something brew up, it like puts suppression on the other vehicles in the hex, which is why people would spread their vehicles out, because that means this unit here, because there was a brew up, it would now be suppressed. Wow, how did BTR get in there? Reading comprehension failed. So that would mean when this guy does his fire back, he would be suffering from the suppression penalty because everybody up around him just exploded. I didn't remember reading that in the basic rules. So either I missed it or that's an advanced rule that I'm carrying over from Panzer. So again, you all do better research than me, so you can let me know. So that's fired. This is why people wanted a optional staggered firing rule, because the person with initiative, they are going to absolutely wreck other people. And as you can see, with a penetration of 110 at point blank range against 90 armor, that's a brew up every time. That's popcorn. Alright, then this poor lone Soviet defender is going to fire back. And again, we're not going to apply the brew up penalty for suppression, only because I don't remember if that's a thing. I could be thinking of a completely different game. So let's see what the range on the T-80. I got their data cards here. Oh, it's 6 as well, so that's point blank. And it is 108 penetration, and the front armor on here is 100. So if it hits, there's a good possibility that one of the Abrams will also brew up. So point blank, the target size is 0. Again, there was no moving. They were all stuck. They're not in cover. Unless the bridge usually gives cover if you're hitting at it from a side, but if you're just shooting straight down the bridge from the front like they are, there's no protection there. Yeah, nothing applies. The only thing that will apply next turn, it doesn't happen the turn that it happens, but brew up smoke. If that T-80 stays, then there's going to be a penalty going both ways of -2, so it's going to be harder to see. So right now it also is a 90, but there's only one of them this time, so initiative definitely was important for that, for the Americans at least. Alright, so we're going to go blue is the 10s, 79. Oh, if I had reversed it, but I kept it as blue as the 10s. So that means we get another brew up, but this time it is a M1. So these groups of tanks are pretty equally matched. You know, this is interesting. This is why I like the MBT series, Panzer series. Jim Day has done a lot of research. There's some games you'll play where the assumption is that the American tanks were just always so much more superior, or the NATO tanks over the Warsaw. But